There's a lot that's been said about the fabric of reality, like this world we live in and where these creatures and beings seem to come from. And even when they talk about, these realms like the Bermuda Triangle or these mystic locations, these vortexes that were found in like Sedona, Arizona, or all these places where there's energy portals and things like that, it seems to me that the fabric of reality is a good analogy, really. It's kind of like, if you think of the fabric of reality of being made up of a series of threads, we'll say that this is a reality, reality A. And this reality is mostly like we're on those threads, the A threads, but we're on a couple of the B threads as well, and threads with other C, D, whatever. But the majority of the threads we're on are A threads. However, that doesn't seem to stay constant. You've got this effect that occurs when you go to different locations. Philip and Progno talks about this, and even Philip K. Dick talked about this. I'll leave a link down below. But the idea is that depending on time, perhaps in the evening when the sun isn't there, or we're not having as much magnetic, radiation, whatever the factors are, I don't know. But what seems to be consistent across all the research is that it's at some point we seem to step on more of the B threads than the A threads. And when that ratio gets a little bit off and we wind up, kind of being like 50-50, that's when these world breaches occur. That's when these gateways open and things can come across. Now, there's a lot of factors that contribute to this, but a big one is consciousness. That's why, the Babylon working that Jack Parsons did and all this ritual magic, the one thing they have in common is they have people casting spells, which is nothing more than manipulating consciousness. And people, they take psychedelics, and what does that do? That manipulates consciousness. So if we know that that is happening, if we know that consciousness is so heavily, heavily dependent upon this reality we're in, and I'm not talking about, perception controlling reality. I'm talking about the actual physical reality being part of it. Now, it may not be just, there could be areas in the world like, the famous Skinwalker Ranch and a lot of places here in British Columbia where just because of these factors, which I'm not sure about, geological factors, that these breaches occur naturally. And since we know that plants from the Baxter effect and deep forests and old growth forests, they seem to have a consciousness too, which may lead to these portholes. And that would lead to that would explain a lot of the ideas about fairies, fear of the deep dark forest at night. And sure, granted that, there's a lot of other things. People are afraid of the forest because, obviously we're fear of the unknown and blah, blah, blah. But what if there's something more there? What if there really is a way that these portholes can be created and occur naturally that allows for conscious beings to cross through them? That would explain the question of where does Bigfoot or the Sasquatch or the hominids or whatever you want to call them, where do they go? They have to go somewhere. And if they were running around in the bushes all the time, we'd kill them for sure. We're great at that stuff. We'll kill anything. So if we know that, and we know that consciousness is such a huge factor, we have to realize that consciousness must be one of the rarest things in the galaxy. Like most of the universe is made up of plasma. There isn't even solid matter. That's even super rare. And then after you have solid matter, you have to have life, which occurs. And either plant or animal or human life, whatever, life is unbelievably rare. So like a coral reef in a great ocean void of nothing, life seems to be this beacon, this thing that draws in other conscious life from the dark void of the universe. And I think that's how we're being found. I don't think UFOs and aliens are looking for us by, taking out telescopes and peering through this light years and light years of empty space trying to find something. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they're using consciousness. And this little blue ball we all live in, it's a beacon of consciousness, a beacon of life. And that's how they're coming across. For us to be looking for, radio signals in space, it'd be like us trying to find smoke signals. You know what I mean? So consciousness is a big deal. And that's something that perhaps if we know this and we can see how it's being repressed, how can we how can we affect our own consciousness to affect change? And maybe even like Jack Parsons did and some of these old wizards, how did they open doorways?